Okay. The other issue I have is the Times News. I'm a write-in candidate for state representative, District 2. Did you know that?
Write-in candidate
for District 2 against Bud Halsey. Did you know that? No idea?
I didn't know there was a write-in candidate for District 2.
You know why? Because the Times News refuses to do any story on myself or J.R. Enfield, who's actually on the ballot. Do you know why? Because they say we do not have bona fide campaigns because they want campaign dollars spent with their newspaper. He said, well, how much do you have to spend? I said, I'm just telling you. You know, I wrote a letter to the editor, letter to the community letters, everything that way, and they just stiff-armed me the entire way. So how can this be a democracy when our own newspaper doesn't cover valid stories? I mean, quote unquote, I don't want to be the person that has signs blocking everything, that's interrupting people's music or their television program that way with negative ad campaigns or any kind of campaign in that way. How can it only be a bona fide campaign that the Times News would cover?
That's their policy.
That newspaper has changed in 8 years. They are all about money now.
I understand why.
And another thing.
I mean, all newspapers in this country are having a difficult financial time.
And you have an Eastman background. 2 times last week, acetic acid was spilled, quote unquote spilled, a week apart into the Holston River. The mention of it in the newspaper was roughly that big, and it was back on like page 6 both times. Why? I mean, I just heard from someone just a minute ago that the spill was much larger than that, and the paper didn't cover it correctly. I mean, I don't mean to attack that way,
that's not anything really that.
But it affects people, their health in the long run. This happened from 2005 to 2009. They had over 15 major spills that way, and they were in a huge lawsuit over it as well. Of course, the Times News covered a little bit of that story, but not enough of it. They never said the outcome of that. It was a civil suit, which shouldn't have happened anyway. For monetary purposes, they just need to fix, in my opinion, just fix the safety issues. I mean,
I worked out there for a long time, and Eastman is a very conscientious company. Things happen, lines break, so forth. Why they had to spill, I don't know. I never worked in that area. So.
But while the newspaper mentioned it more than that, it's beyond me.
You need to ask editorial folks about that. I
can't get a response. But I mean, you have someone in Greene County named Park Overall. Everybody knows who Park is. She's battling NFS and U.S. nitrogen that way. She's a famous actress, and that's the only reason that she gets any attention is because people know who she is. She's made 30-some movies, going to TV shows, and everything. But I know going up against somebody like Eastman is huge. But in this area, ALS, Parkinsons, many rare cancers that way, it's not talked about. But the per population, per capita, is higher than any other place in the world. Any other place in the world. And people with ALS also is tied to Gulf War syndrome, which is tied to chemical weapons, which are made partially at Eastman and partially at BAE.
Yeah, we don't make any. Eastman doesn't make any chemical weapons. They may make.
They make the dope that goes in it, and it goes to BAE or Holston Defense, and it's made there. It's a question that needs to be asked, or if they just need to blow up my house or something. I brick-proof my windows.
Eastman is an extremely conscientious company about safety,
I know.
environmental. I'm a chemist by training guy, and I handled a whole lot more stuff at Eastman ever did when I was in graduate school.
A chemist named Bill Richards retired there at Eastman, and I'd like to have his testimony in my 4th book. He died of Lou Gehrig's disease, and he was there when they were trying to manufacture the bottle for Mountain Dew to get the green just perfect on that. He came home with different hair color and everything, but ultimately that's what killed him. And 3 years after he was diagnosed, he was gone. But his wife Zeta, I mean, she's very active, very outspoken on that. But, I mean, there's something dead up the creek that needs to be addressed because people are getting sick. And then, I know you
I'm
can.
quite, I guess I don't really buy into a whole lot. I mean, I was very involved with the ball department, and the green and all the other colors and so forth.
And my dad was in Vietnam. He was exposed to Agent Orange, Agent Blue, Agent Yellow, all the agents. But he also was a millwright at Eastman. Now he's got asbestosis in both lungs. And they say, well, it was caused because you worked at Eastman. Oh, no, it was caused because you were in Vietnam. So he's just getting the runaround that way, too. And he's not the type of person to try to get anything.
Well, it's one of those things. It's unknown and unknowable, as we used to say. There are some things. Where do they come from? There was not a lot of asbestos. I mean, we used to use insulation on pipes called asbestos. Yeah, had asbestos in it.
He brought those smoke stacks full of bird crap too, and everything else. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Mike.
All right. Good to meet you.
Yeah, you too.